some lips on and then I'll be ready to go. All right. You get to see me put my lips on, even though this color is hard on my lips. I don't even know. The experience of being in the military itself, what I had to do was easy for me. Dealing with some of the things that came into my life, that were experiences I had to endure, was not always easy. I grew up with mostly women. I lived with my mother, but my grandmother was like always there because she lived close by. And my mom and my grandmother were very close. So we spent a lot of time between grandma's house, my mom's house, church, and school, and that's pretty much it. Good job. If I just wasn't so fine. I needed to figure out what I was gonna do. I didn't think I was interested in college at the time, but I already become a teen mom. So I wanted to take care of my baby. I didn't want my mother to have to do that. My girlfriend had gone in the Navy. She was driving a school bus and was talking to me about going in the military. She says, well, what are you gonna do? Because I think I was a junior or something. It wasn't until I went to her house and I saw her white uniform laying on the bed. I was sold. And I went home and told my mom I'm going in the Navy because I like their uniforms. And my mother looked at me like, what? Because you like? Yep. I didn't need anything else. So I'm supposed to act normal. Mm-hmm. Whatever the heck that means. Well, there were no men where we were in boot camp, necessarily where we lived, but when we marched and did those things, we had a brother company that would be accompanying us. I had no idea that once you got out of boot camp, all of a sudden you'd be the only or a very small group of, depending on where you ended up. That was like, where are the girls at? Initially, I was in aviation where there was actually a lot of women at my first duty station. But when I went to A school, it was primarily men, of course. I meet this Marine. I didn't know initially that he was stationed across the street from us because I was a Navy. He was a Marine. I didn't understand any of that. Just got there, maybe a couple months earlier. And then unfortunately, my first major trauma happened. This particular evening, we were gonna go out and we had a girlfriend that lived off site. So we're gonna meet at her house and we're gonna go on a date, and then it turned kind of ugly. He got very aggressive with me and decided he wanted to have relations with me physically, and I didn't want to, and he forced me. Once it happened and it was kind of over with, he left that night and he literally didn't contact me anymore until I contacted him about 2 months later because I found out I was pregnant. He says, okay, well, I'll take care of it. He contacts me within probably 2-3 weeks later and takes me to his duty station. They had us go into this room and there were 5 men sitting there. I'll never forget. They have us stand at attention in front of them, and then they tell me, how dare I be pregnant, and that I'm trying to ruin his career. I remember being like I was moving outside of my body because it's like, do you not know what happened with this situation? And they weren't even entertaining conversation. They pretty much said, we're giving you a direct order to have an abortion. Okay. And I remember at the time saying, well, what if I don't have an abortion? And he said, oh, that's what you're gonna do. It didn't even dawn on me that I would even face anything that might affect the rest of my life when I went in the military. I went in because I wanted a career and I wanted to go to college, and military pay, they did pay for all of that, so that's what I went for. But the military is not designed for that. They're designed for the mission, so that anything that needs to be sacrificed for the mission is the only thing that matters. And that's unfortunate because there are real people there. A few months went by because at that time, you couldn't have an abortion without the baby being a certain amount of gestation. You couldn't do it very, very early. He picked me up in a government car, took me to the clinic right there on Little Creek Road. Nobody's going through this with me, it's just me. That particular day, I was so grief-stricken, I couldn't even speak. So I went to the barracks, just burst in tears and tears and tears. So just all of this stuff began to build up in me immediately. Well, I think about where I am now in my life, that I'm actually going through a transition. There was a time in my life that I didn't think about being a veteran. It's not that I didn't identify in the VA system. It's just outside of that system, there was never a reason to bring it up. Once I kind of started meeting other women who were here in Texas, I found out that there was a lot of women that just didn't identify as veterans, so they didn't have access to any of their benefits. They didn't even know that there were benefits available to them as veterans. And then there was a misunderstanding about what the definition of a veteran was for many women, particularly the older generation, because they felt like that if they didn't go to war, they weren't veterans. Because I remember when I was in the Gulf War, whenever the ship pulled in and we docked in Iraq, everybody got off to do whatever it is we were assigned to do, men and women. So if somebody got hurt, somebody got blown up, whatever, it just was a part of being there. So it's always a mystery as to how media can report that the women are now on the front lines when women have always been on the front lines. And then there are issues, I think, that are different that we deal with, because the Me Too movement is just as serious or more so in the military than it is in the civilian sector, because our lifestyle is primarily men. For the most part, it's great, but there are bad apples everywhere. And they make it hard for us to do what we do, just be there. Not because we're doing anything wrong, just being there, being a woman is a challenge. And I think it's unfair for people to feel like, well, you shouldn't have went in the military because you knew what it was. Well, I mean, that's not fair either, because the military is an opportunity for everybody. I'm excited about being a part of it. I'm Not Invisible, just because women who served in the military, a lot of times, there's just a little bit of a misunderstanding as to our role. I guess having somebody take an initiative to document our history is important. And again, it's not because I think we need to be separate from the guys and get separate attention. I just think we need to have recognition so it'll become normal for people to think of a woman having been in the military. At this point, we should be working together so that we can, work toward the goal, the cause of making sure, again, we're at least acknowledged for what we did, what we have done, and then what we can contribute to our communities now. Because I think what I'm seeing is that we have a next generation of young women who could use us, being able to advise them on some things about how to manage themselves inside this culture. Because now we can reach back and look and say, guys, this might help you. This is what I went through and this might help you, kind of thing, But while we're competing, fighting, we can't get anything done, So.
Good luck to the VA.
Thank you.
Glad you made it safely.
Good, you smell fabulous. Whatever that is you're wearing.
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, you look beautiful.
Welcome to Austin. Are you enjoying your time here?
I better say yes, she's my cook.
Where'd you move from?
New Mexico, and I'm from Minnesota.
Okay, well at least it's warmer here. When you think about veterans, you typically think of men because men, they show who they are much more than women do. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Is that it?
I heard
Yes, ma'am.
they away with it with computers, but that's not true.
No, it isn't. No. I joined the Air Force in 1980. I was a linguist, and there were actually quite a few women that were at the language school the same time that I was. And a lot of the women that I was actually at the language school with went with me to Korea.
Please have me. Yes. You have more of these? Yes.
I was in for 4 years, and when I got out, I didn't know about benefits or services, and nobody had ever communicated that there were any benefits or services aside from your VA benefit to buy a home. But other than that, I didn't know about the VA or even if those services were available for women back then, and I didn't even ask. I didn't even know to ask. I just kind of said, okay, I'm out, and I went about living my life. In 2010, when I was getting my MBA, there was a medically retired lieutenant colonel in the Air Force who was in my cohort. And we were talking, and she said, well, you're a veteran. And I'm like, well, yeah, I don't know about that. And she's like, no, you served. I said, yeah, from 80 to 84. I said, it was a long time ago. And she's like, don't do that. And I was like, don't do what? And she's like, you served. You made the decision to sign on the dotted line and you gave 4 years of your life to your country. You can call yourself a veteran.
Appreciate your service.
Thank you.
There are so many women veterans like myself who have dismissed their service when they shouldn't have.
Pictures, Women's Army Corps.
Yeah. So he came.
I brought my mom's picture. She was in the Women's Army Corps. Was she? Yes.
There's a large part of the population who have family members who never served, and so they're not as aware that women serve. There's a lot of misconceptions about the things that women are capable of doing and how much influence that women have had because of their military service. If you think about the women's right to vote, a lot of that was driven by women who served during World War I. We played such an important part in history, and I just think we have to keep the momentum going.
I don't recognize the past.
Well, she was in Africa, and then they went to England.
Oh, really?
I don't recognize the patch either. I'll have to look on her DD. I have her DD 214. I'll have to see.
That's a nice picture.
Especially if women are going to get services. If they're going to get services, why would you assume that they're the spouse? Why not just assume that they're the veteran?
I'm really happy today. I'm happy to talk about what's going on here for women veterans and get the word out to so many that have been left behind, so to speak.
We just got the mammogram machine. So we only have one place that has x-ray for mammogram. So when we talk about the women's clinic, we're getting there because we didn't have it before.
And I don't have any family. I have no kids. I have no relatives now. But I have the military family. And now I have this family. I've met a lot of neat people here.
Well, when you come right there, we'll do the easy stuff here. So turn all the way around, and then back up a tiny bit. So just stand up right there. You can lock it down. Perfect. So,
Thank you for your help.
You're welcome.
great smile at me. Perfect job.
Supposed to go, but you're getting.
She says it was women like you in the 40s and the 50s that
God
led
gave
the
them
way.
the opportunity.
That's right.
Absolutely.
She says every one of her stars lies on you guys.
I was in guard duty at Fort Des Moines, Iowa, and they gave me a flashlight and a whistle.
Oh gosh.
We didn't have guns or anything.
Take me, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm a Navy veteran as well.
Oh, well, that's good. I'm glad to see somebody else from the
Absolutely. When were you in? Like,
52 in the 50s.
oh my God, what did you do? From the time I got out to maybe 10 years ago, I had no tear, no nothing, no emotion about anything. It was happening on the inside, but there was no outward display, nowhere to share that. And I think, some of that is what contributed to the fallout with my husband, because I just didn't have anything to share because I was isolated in my own head. I probably could have been more motivated to heal and really do it just not been. I just hate this. I just hate my life.
Hey, Virginia, we're going to do a group photo.
Are you taking my friend?
I am.
We're just connected.
Central Texas.
Navy veterans here. Okay?
I know.
I'm in counseling now. They give me an appointment with a gentleman that's over at the VA, and he diagnosed me with military sexual trauma, PTSD/military sexual trauma. And then he stayed with me for a few years, and then he transferred me over to the vet center. He felt like I needed to take the next step. Now, I'm still taking next steps because I haven't gone through all the things that they think would be my therapy and all that stuff, but at least I've been willing to be open to it.
You haven't seen the organ plan? No. Look at this. Look at this. This is what we gonna look like. That's organs.
Okay.
So when he did the whole body shot,
Okay.
he's gonna put all of us in line like this.
Okay.
So look, my little Edie Gourmet necklace. I'm
It's
gonna
gonna be in there, yes.
I read all about their things. Some of them talk about their medals they got. Some of them talk about their experience. Some talk about whatever. So
Okay.
it's whatever you want to add.
Oregon, I'm gonna have to check it out. Okay, so, and I'll see if I can get another state involved. Let me find out how do I do that.
That'd be cool.
So he said some words to me that I will never forget. He said, Romaine, just because you need support does not mean you're weak. Wow. And that made it okay for me to let him talk to me about my life. You know what I mean? It just made it okay. Oh God, it made it okay. Because I'm not weak. I'm not, I just have been through some things that I didn't do to myself. Somebody else did that I've had to pay for a long time. Thank you so much.
Well, of course, you're very welcome. Thank you for
Wonderful.
being
We'll be
here.
doing some more. So
Yeah.
give me words to depart with.
Words to depart with.
You're beautiful. Thank you for being part of our campaign. I am not invisible,
Yes.
and I'll see you at the reception in
March.
March 27th.
Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
You all are amazing. Thank y'all so much.
Yeah. Good to see you, Mike. Thank you so much.
Good cousin. That was amazing. I mean, I met everybody from an IT lady to I think she was in the Navy back in the 50s. Oh my God. She said her life was so incredibly different from ours. Because she got out of the Navy because they wouldn't let her transfer with her husband. And we just leave our husbands. Go wherever and let him go where he goes. So life is just, I can't imagine just life being like that. Her life was so much different than mine, even though we're both in the same branch of service. So that's kind of crazy. It's interesting though, intriguing. So but everybody's invited us to these girls trips, so I hope we can actually do something. Because like she said, it didn't matter what branch of service we were in, the only common thread that we had is we all raised our hands, and that made us connect today. So that was great. So every time I have this opportunity, it always feels the same, like we just belong here together, you know? Whew. Women who served in the military are masters at compartmentalizing because we have to. We all know what it means to perform whatever your mission is, and you just got to focus on that. At the end of the day, I think all of us need to be working on something as it relates to women moving forward and having success if we served in the military. That's just the way I see it. Oh, wow, this is pretty cool. I like that one. And I think we'll find our best self if we can incorporate who we really are as women into being veterans. I feel like she actually does know what she's doing. And then being able to acculturate by bringing our mantra of never leaving anyone behind. This camaraderie has opened up for healing for them. I can say for myself, I didn't even know I needed this in my life. That there's other women that think like me, that just get me. And I don't have to be anything different. I don't have to put on a mask. I don't have to add anything. I don't have to take anything away. I can just be me. When I talk to a woman who knows what that world is like, there's some things I just don't have to say that you get. When I'm able to just be here with you, I'm able to just be here with you. And that means I'm gaining something and you're gaining something. That's the part that I think we're missing when we come home. Because out there, we're forced to be with the guys, because that's who's there primarily. When we come home, we start talking with the girls and they say, oh, there's something different about her. Because they don't quite know what the heck she's talking about. Or why is she so plain all the time? Why is she so direct? Or whatever it is that makes us identify differently as women. That's it. So you got me. Okay. You got me. So hit me up now. Stop playing. That's what pushes us into isolation. Because we really don't fit anywhere.
This exhibit is part of the national campaign, which aims to elevate public awareness for the vital role that women veterans have played in national defense. Further, it encourages all women who serve to identify as veterans and to utilize the benefits that they deserved. The 30 women recognized here this evening represent every conflict from World War II to the most recent war in Afghanistan. They come from all over the state of Texas. Their stories are the history of the past and the beginning of a new era, when every woman veteran can say, I am not invisible, I am a veteran.
I was able to find a connection here. Now, of course, all of us are not going to connect with everybody. That never happens. But everybody connected with somebody. And I think that's why this is so vital, because I think when you feel like you're fit somewhere, that is a part of the process of being able to heal. Beyond counseling, you have someone that recognizes my service, recognizes my sacrifice. Because while we want to be humble about it, what most of us did is a sacrifice. People appreciated that. These women veterans appreciated that. And I can tell by the response even now on our social media, as people are still responding and engaging with us and asking what's happening next. There's an interest that's been piqued. What can we do with this to change the lives of women really? Man, we probably should have put your sneakers on, huh? You want to put your sneakers on, or you like those, Anna? Okay, so we'll keep those on then. Let's go up on this sidewalk right here. Starting this project with women veterans actually helped me tremendously, because I was dealing with some, I guess I'll say, mental health things that I didn't realize, and finding that there were so many other women out here who were dealing with or have dealt with some of the same things that I've dealt with was actually refreshing. I mean, that might sound bad, but it's just good to know that you're not alone in the world, in the issues that you have. But, I was a naive little girl when I went in the military. Well, don't let him get you. I know you take a bath. I did too. We always take baths.
You take a shower.
Yeah, I do take showers more than I take baths, but I take baths sometimes. I got exposed to so much so very quickly that it was overwhelming, and I lost my way a lot in a lot of ways. And so the military does teach you how to adapt and overcome, but it's not always good if you don't know quite what that means in a particular setting. Unfortunately, what happened to me is when I got out, I was not able to manage my life. My life became out of control in some ways, but nobody knew because I was adapting and overcoming. At least it looked like I was. So getting involved in the Women Veterans Day project or movement or whatever we're going to call it, I'll say has caused me to be able to come to terms with the fact that I'm not weak because I need help. And I've been able to tell other women veterans the same thing because the military teaches you that, we're strong. We can do anything a man can do. I mean, that's a cliche, but I can do whatever I want to do. I can learn whatever I need to learn, and I'm strong enough to do it because I did it. You need help? Jump. You on there? Okay. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, you can do it now, right? Push your legs out. You know how to do it. Put your legs really high. There you go. Well, with Women Veterans Day, I think the most important thing that we're trying to get is awareness that women serve and some of the issues that we have are different from what men have of being in the military. And just to be able to acknowledge the sacrifice that women make that is very specific, I'll say, because of the family and how we deal with our children. Bringing good awareness to that, I think, is going to be important because it enables people or organizations in the VA to be able to know how best to approach care for us or resources for us and how to develop what may not be out there now. So I think that's a big deal. Now I'm going to let you do it for a while. Let me see you do it. Stick your legs out. Come on, real big. There you go. Real big, your legs way out there, way out there. Then I think because unfortunately there's a stigma that goes with sometimes with women being in the military because of the culture, because military changes your viewpoint of how you handle pretty much everything. So if you're in the military for any extended amount of time, your process for living is very different. My baby might be a military girl one day, I don't know. I guess going through the counseling has caused me to kind of do some looking inward at myself and my life and the people in my life that matter. And with that, I visited my mom. And I didn't realize how being in the military kind of took me from my mom. And I just don't know a lot about my mom because I left when I was 17 years old and I haven't been back. Can you go all the way to the top? Girl, be careful, watch your head. Watch your head. Annalise, girl, you are a big girl. Oh my goodness. Girl, look at you. I went home and somehow I discovered that she had gotten older. Like, it's like it shocked me because I'd been home to visit, but I never really was home to pay attention to my mom and how her life had changed and how home had changed. Because home is basically the same, but mom had changed. Yeah, you can do it. And then you can hold on to that and climb over there. We're alike in a lot of ways, and I am learning things from my mother, and I'm just stunned when she says she's learning things from me. Right here. Put your feet right there, and then go up. Go ahead. And I think one thing my mom asked me one time, she says, you've done so many things and been so many places, and you just do whatever you want. She said, have you ever been afraid? Now hold on, up there. Hold your hands up there, and now go that way. Now you can step right over there. See? And I thought about that for a second, and I said, well, yeah, but I want to do it anyway. So, because, somewhere along the way, again, leaving home at 17 and going through all the things I've been through, I don't think there's nothing that I can run up on these days that I'm afraid of. Some things I just have gotten old enough and mature enough to realize I don't need to get involved in, but fear is not the reason. It's usually because either I feel like I can't contribute or this is not contributing to me. And I'm learning something else about myself because I didn't realize that I needed it. I needed the therapy of slowing down, the therapy of looking inside and being able to figure out who I am on the inside, who I am without all the things that I do. Because the military is about doing, performing, getting things done, a mission. So now my mission is to get to know me and my mom. And I think it's gonna be a great outcome. And I would encourage anybody that ever comes to that, particularly those of us who have been away from our families, to look back every now and again and see if there's something over there that you can glean from or give back to, so that's just where I am today. And I think all of what we've done has helped me get there, so.